I'm 60 and can deadlift twice my body weight. My name's Jacqueline, I'm 60 years old, I'm a personal trainer and I live on the south coast of England. So I really got into fitness when my first son was born. So I was 26 when I had him. And it really struck me how my newborn baby totally relied on its mother being healthy and well. And that started my journey into fitness and looking after my health. So my son was born in 1989, and at the time Jane Fonda was all the rage, so I worked out to Jane Fonda videos at home whilst my baby was sleeping. And then as he became older and I had other children, I kind of stepped up my fitness. So I got involved in things like running races, and I was interested in pre and postnatal care. Bringing you right up to date now, I really love strength training, I still love running, and I've been involved in a whole variety of things, including bodybuilding competitions. So my approach to exercise is I get outside every single morning, and that's either for a walk, a run or cycling, and that sorts out my cardiovascular health. As much as anything, I love being out on the beach first thing in the morning and catching sunrise.
Your support allows us to keep creating these amazing videos, so please like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
The other part of training that I really focus on is strength training. And I do a strength training workout maybe 4 or 5 times a week, depending on my other commitments. But that's really important to me as well. And then alongside that, I make sure that I work on things like balance, mobility and stretching. Favourite form of exercise is really difficult. I love running because I love getting outside in the fresh air, but I'm really passionate about strength training, and there's something very empowering about lifting up a weight and feeling strong and capable and able to move that weight and then seeing yourself getting stronger and picking up a heavier weight than you did last week. So I'm exercising now for my current health, but also my future health. I know that all the time I invest in exercise is going to be paying back in years to come, because it's going to help me maintain my strength, my function, my ability to move around and my zest for life, and just to be able to enjoy the things I do. So I definitely think it's incredibly beneficial. And whilst we can't absolutely minimize every risk, we can certainly go a long way to improving our health and promoting active and healthier aging. My sole focus around training is about function and about health promotion. So I think one of the benefits of exercise is that it can have aesthetic benefits as well, but that's not my primary goal. My primary goal is to be as healthy and well as I can be, and especially as I'm 60 years old, because I have osteoarthritis, and it'd be very easy to sit down and think I can't do anything, but it's even more important as we get older, if we've got underlying medical conditions and things, to invest that time. So for me, it's definitely about health, it's definitely about function, and it's definitely with an eye on the prize of getting to 100 years old or more and still feeling healthy and well. So I don't think it's anything to do with motivation. I think it's primarily about embedding healthy habits. And there are days when I really don't feel like exercising, or I'm not quite with it, and it's very easy then to have a day off and then another day and then another day. But the thing that keeps me going is that I've got a habit and it's become part of my lifestyle. So it isn't difficult for me to do it, because it's just one of those things I do, like brushing my teeth every day. There are days when you don't really feel like it, and there might be times when I need to back off exercise a bit or modify it, particularly if I'm struggling and I've got a bit of knee pain with the osteoarthritis. But I always know that I feel better for doing something. So even if it's a modified or shorter session, I do try and maintain my exercise. And through times like holidays and Christmas and time away and birthdays, it just becomes a lifestyle and a habit that we do for life. So I think ageism is a problem in society, and it's something that I've become more and more aware of. And perhaps for the first time I was aware of it was in my 40s, and now I'm 60. It seems like ageism becomes more and more an issue, particularly as a woman, the older you get. So ageism is really about stereotyping people according to their age. No other reason, just deciding and stereotyping older people as something. And very often that's a negative stereotype. And people can also treat you differently as well. Okay, so the growing older and aging are two different things. So growing older is literally about your chronological age. We're all growing older every minute, every day, every week. That's from the date you were born. But aging is something different. Aging is where various systems in the body are starting to not function so efficiently. And there is a natural tail off of some of these things, like our bone health and our bone density and our cardiovascular health and various other systems in the body that don't work as well as we get older. There's an awful lot we can do to promote that though, and to sustain a good level of general health for as long as possible. So yes, whilst it's true that bone health diminishes rapidly for women post-menopause, if we're engaged in strength training, that can help promote bone health and offset that rapid deterioration. So that's why it's important to understand the difference, because we can't do anything older about growing older, and we should all be jolly grateful if we are growing older, because the alternative is not being here. So we can't do anything about that, but we can all do something about aging and aging better. And again, it's nothing to do with how we look. It's how we can function and enjoy the world and actually enjoy whatever it is, the things that we enjoy doing. We can carry on enjoying and doing those for longer. So I've always had social media of one form or another, and it's obviously different platforms have become more popular at different times. I've had an Instagram account, which is my main social media platform that I've used almost ever since Instagram started, probably maybe a couple of years in, because I had a BlackBerry. If anybody remembers BlackBerry, we didn't have iPhones. But anyway, so that's when I started my Instagram account. And initially, it was really just to promote my services as a personal trainer in my locality. But I think the more I was posting on there about health and healthier aging, and I was in my 50s at the time, so people of a similar age started to follow me, because there were plenty of younger people who were promoting fitness online, but there was less. It was a bit like a pyramid. The older you got, the less people there were to perhaps look to for information that might be relevant to you. So that's kind of how it's developed over the years. Okay, when I had my first child, I became very interested in empowering women in terms of information and education around childbirth and pregnancy. So actually I worked as an antenatal teacher for a charity, and that kind of then developed on to become more interested in the body and how the body works. And so I trained to become a personal trainer, and that's about 25 years ago now. So as well as my work as a personal trainer, I also worked as a fitness tutor for about 10 years as well. And so that's developed over a period of time. So initially I was working as a personal trainer in gyms, and that means that you work with a wide cross-section of people, and I was also teaching various classes as well in a gym setting. And then I really wanted to work from what I really identified with and recognised. There's an awful lot of people who don't like going into gyms, particularly it's not always midlife women, but lots of midlife women perhaps have had a poor relationship with exercise over the years, and they want a more private and intimate setting. So then I was really keen to work from my own studio where I could offer clients a bit more privacy. And so that's how I developed my personal training services, and that's what I do now, is see people on a one-to-one basis in my studio, but also work with people online. And again, people really kind of resonate and understand an awful lot of the things that I'm saying, and I don't really talk about drop a dress size or being a size 8 or getting your bikini body. That's really not what I focus on. What I really focus on is helping people feel healthier and better in themselves, and just getting stronger and supporting their cardiovascular health. So yes, at the same time, they might have aesthetic goals, but that's really not the primary thing I focus on, and what most of the clients who come to me want. They actually have been listening to what I've been saying about supporting their health as they're getting older, and perhaps many of them, because they're around midlife, I've got older parents, and they're seeing some of the deterioration perhaps at first hand, and are looking ahead and thinking, okay, what can I do? This is something that Jacqueline talks about a lot. What can I personally do to lower my risk and stop feeling like, well, I'm feeling a bit achy and I'm in my 50s and I'm noticing I can't get up and down as well and I'm feeling a bit breathless. What can I do now? And that's where we can come in with an intervention, hopefully change someone's future health trajectory for the better. I think it's it's really challenging because obviously we are aesthetically driven as human beings. We like pretty things and attractive looking things, and we're very taken by some of those transformation photographs, and so I completely understand why that draws people in. And health is a harder sell, because how do you show health? Because you can't actually tell someone's health from a picture. You really can't tell, and you can have someone who might look wonderfully healthy, but you don't know what they're dealing with. So it is a harder sell. So I understand the problem there, and I think it's really important to rebrand fitness, if you like, and talk about it as health, and try and step away a little bit from the aesthetics and the before and after and the diet culture, because I think it can leave many people feeling a little bit frustrated because they don't necessarily see the results they want as quickly as possible, and if they do, they often find they aren't sustainable, particularly where someone has had dramatic weight loss. So I think that's the problem, really, and we need to really get everybody on board with the fact that fitness isn't a 12-week transformation. Your health and fitness is a lifelong journey, and it's forever going to evolve, and what you can do in your 20s and 30s may be different than when you're in your 60s and 70s, and it's not better or worse, it's part of the journey. Things are going to be forever changing, and your interests are going to change, and your availability to do things will change. And I was running marathons a few years ago. I probably won't run another marathon because I have osteoarthritis. I run, but I have to kind of modify what I do, and that's also the experience I have of working with clients. So we're forever changing. It might be that you're going to be paddleboarding or rock climbing, or cycling or another activity. But I think running through all of that is that commitment to support your health and exercise for your body, for yourself, and not for a photograph and not for a 12-week transformation. But I do understand why that's so appealing. But my days are quite varied, but the one thing that is pretty much constant is I'm up and out of the door very early in the morning, and it's not always running. Sometimes it's a run, sometimes it's cycling, sometimes it's walking. So I can't run too much because I have osteoarthritis, but so I modify that. But that's the one thing that's definitely constant in my day. If I've been out really early, then I might get a strength training session in straight afterwards before I then get ready for the day and working with clients, whether that's online or face-to-face. But it really depends on when I've got client bookings, and it's not just the clients that I'm working with face-to-face or online. My other clients, if you like, are the brands that I work with as well, to promote and support them and if their products and things and lifestyles that align with health and fitness. So that's another big part of my work, and I have to schedule that into my diary. And because I work from home, I've got the freedom to have sort of fresh food and lunch up in my own time and pace. And then in the afternoon, again, it'll depend on who I'm actually working with, and there's always time as well to get back on the beach again, maybe for another walk or a bit of fresh air. And I also like to check in on my parents fairly regularly, who live quite close to me, still at home in their own home and still quite active, but it's nice to have them close by that I can check on them as well. And then later on in the evening, I've got 5 grown-up children, so one or other of them may be here, and I'll catch up with them as well. So I tend to split my routine, which is important because I do leg strengthening twice a week. I need to split that out. In terms of legs, I tend to do squats, but I squat to a box, which keeps me at 90 degrees, which stops me going to sort of the arc of pain. I do good mornings as well. I do split squats. I do leg press, the plate loaded leg press. Actually, that's something that I can actually load up quite heavy, and it doesn't cause me so much of an issue with my knees. And I do leg curl as well. In terms of so that's just some of them. In terms of upper body exercise that I really love, so push-ups are really important. Bench press, I do pull-ups, and I do inverted rows. I do various combinations of shoulder press. I love things like dynamic exercise as well. Things like clean and press, because they get the heart rate up, but you also get a lot of unilateral strength and core conditioning with exercises where you're working one side of the body. And that applies to things like dumbbell presses as well. So if I'm doing a dumbbell chest press, I'll tend to do one-sided as well, because that's really great for core stability. And that's why things like the split squats are really good as well. So in terms of deadlifts, I do deadlifts with a straight bar, an Olympic bar, and I also do deadlifts with a trap bar. And the trap bar has got neutral hand grip. So the reason the trap bar is really good is because where the weight goes through the body is slightly different than the Olympic bar. Not everybody is going to have the flexibility to work with an Olympic bar. So I don't think we should force feed deadlifts on everyone, and certainly not with an Olympic bar. So things like kettlebells are great for deadlift. But I tend to alternate between the two. The Olympic bar means that I have to go a little bit deeper and my knee doesn't always like that. The trap bar means I'm slightly higher, and it also means I can go heavier on the trap bar safely without triggering the knee pain. So if I'm the heaviest I'll do on a trap bar at the moment, watch this space, is 107.5 kilograms, which is pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. It's tough. And I'm very, very pleased to have got to that point. I need my son, who's a powerlifter, in the gym with me one day to push it up a bit. You just need somebody cheerleading you, going, "Come on, Mo, go on." So that's what I need to just, I'm very nearly there. Only this week, I've done 107.5 again. I thought, when am I going to try it a little bit heavier? I need to do that. I need my cheerleader in the room. I think fitness and exercise is really life enhancing. So I think it can tick so many boxes. It not only helps us physically, but it helps us psychologically as well. And we just feel better. It makes everything in life just a little bit easier. And it gives you something, some stability, a constant in your life. When anything else is going on, there's always exercise and fitness for you.